postmortem lividity, that is an early change which occur inside in the body. Learning objectives of these lectures are, by the end of this lecture, students will be able to describe the postmortem lividity and contact flattening, and they can describe the commencement, development, fixation of postmortem lividity. They can describe the site of distribution, pattern, and extent of postmortem lividity, and the difference between the postmortem lividity and bruise and congestion and lividity. At the same time, in same lecture, we will discuss the postmortem changes in the blood, CSF, vitreous humor, and the bone marrow. So this is all about the death. You have learned in previous lecture as the death is the irreversible cessation of all the vital functions of the body, such as circulation, respiration, and the brain activity. Signs of death, they are grouped in three: immediate, early, and late. You know very well. The immediate signs are insensibility and loss of voluntary power to move, and then cessation of circulation means flat ECG for 5 minutes, and cessation of respiration. It can be confirmed by performing few tests. Then cessation of brain activity, absent reflexes, and the flat EEG for 5 minutes at least. Early signs, they are cooling of body, eye changes, skin changes, postmortem lividity, and muscular changes, that is rigor mortis. So you have learned all first three, and today our topic is lividity, postmortem lividity. Late sign is decomposition of the body. Let's start with postmortem lividity. The different abbreviation we use for it are livor mortis, hypostasis, and postmortem staining, so dilation, vivaces, lucidity, cadaveric lividity, and darkening of death. Postmortem lividity is the discoloration of the dependent parts of the body after death, due to the fact that after death blood also obeys the law of gravity and accumulate in toneless capillaries and veins in most dependent parts of the body and stagnate there and reflect their shade color. As it is due to the stagnation of the blood, it has same color of the blood. It appears in patches. It start as a patchy form in 1 to 3 hours after death, and these patches, they increases in size and they unite with each other to form a uniform discoloration in about 6 to 8 hours, and is fixed in then it becomes fixed in next 10 to 12 hours, not 6 to 8 hours. This is about the postmortem staining. The dark area is postmortem staining. The two things you can see here in this picture. The dark area is because of postmortem staining, hypostasis, and the second shade is pale. The paler area is because of the contact squeeze of blood from that area. That area is devoid of blood, so that's why it is pale. This is termed as contact flattening. This is also the hypostasis of dependent parts, dependent area of the forearm and forearm. This is postmortem lividity and contact flattening. You can see the same here. Dark area is because of hypostasis and pale area is a contact flattening. Term as contact pallor or contact flattening. What is it? This is the area of the body where the lividity does not develop, because this area is in contact with the floor, ground, or bed. So these compressed areas due to those area part of the body which are compressed due to the tight clothing, like or the presence of waist belt or wristband or ornaments in the neck like necklace. In these areas the same behave like the dependent contact flattening areas, because due to this pressure effect, the blood squeeze from the vessels, underlying vessels, because of obstruction and compression effect of the surface on this underlying vessel, the blood is squeezed out from these vessels, and in the absence of blood, this area reflects a paler, gives a paler color, and due to the contact or pressure is also somewhat flattening. That's why this term has a contact flattening or contact pallor or contact blanching or bleaching. Intensity and color of lividity depends upon the volume of blood in the dead body at the time of death, then fluidity of blood, and then color of blood at the time of death. Volume. If the total blood volume is decreased at the time of death due to hemorrhage or anemia, lividity is limited and it's fainted, not very marked. Fluidity of blood depends upon concentration of fibrinolysin and the rate of intravascular coagulation. If fibrinolysin is active and rate of intravascular coagulation is slow, blood remains fluid, so it gravitates rapidly to an extremely extensive area, it will be more marked. Color of blood. If concentration of reduced hemoglobin is more, as in asphyxial death, the color of blood is become more darker, like purple or dark blue, so would be the color of lividity. In asphyxial death, lividity is darker in shade, dark purple, dark bluish. Carboxyhemoglobin gives cherry red color to the blood. So, in death due to carbon monoxide poisoning, incineration, or in the postmortem lividity color is cherry red in color. For the same reason, the lividity color is greenish blue in case of hydrogen sulfide poisoning, and it is of bronze color in septic abortion because of Clostridium perfringens. Lividity is of dark brown in color in case of phosphorus poisoning, and it is pinkish in hydrocyanuric acid poisoning. Time of postmortem lividity and its fixation, it starts 2 to 3 hours after death, then completed 6 to 8 hours after death, and it becomes fixed after about 10 to 12 hours after death. What is shifting of hypostasis or postmortem lividity? Any change in the position of the body cause blood to settle down in the newer dependent areas. Okay, if we shift the body in the early hours within 2-3 hours, then the lividity is not fixed properly, so it will gravitate on the new dependent portion of the body. So this is termed as a shifting of postmortem lividity, but this shifting may not be possible after 10 to 12 hours because of the fixation of the postmortem staining. Fixation of postmortem lividity determined by blanching test. Blanching test, what it is, just apply a pressure with thumb or finger on the lividity area for just about 1 minute. If the underlying area blanches, it means it does not fix. Lividity is not fixed. It will be fixed within 10 to 12 hours after death, and it will not be shifted with the change of posture in the body. Okay, this is the blanching test. The pressure is applied on the livid area, colored area, so it will become blanches, paler. It means it is not fixed now. Then distribution of hypostasis. If body was lying on the back, like in supine position, the lividity will be seen over back of the head, back of ears, back of neck, back of sacral region, and posterior aspect of external genitalia and posterior aspect of extremities, excluding the scapular region, buttocks, and the posterior aspect of the calves due to the contact flattening, because they are with contact of underlying surface. They squeeze of blood from that area under pressure area, and they are paler. They are contact flattening or contact paler. So lividity, if the body is lying prone, postmortem lividity is visible on front aspect of the body, like on the face, on the chest, front of the thighs, legs. And if the body is lying on one side, then the blood will settle on that side. If the body has been suspended vertically, as in case of hanging, postmortem lividity will be more marked in the legs and external genitalia, lower parts of the forearm and hands, and upper margins of the ligature mark on the leg, because ligature mark is constricting force, is a pressure force, and the area above this ligature mark is the dependent area. So lividity will be present above the ligature mark. In case of drowning death, the head being the heaviest part of the body, it assumes the lower level in comparison with the rest of the body, and the lividity is usually found on the face, upper part of the chest, hands, lower arms, feet and calves as they are the dependent parts. This you can see the lividity in case of hanging. The body is in erect position. In hanging position, the lividity is more marked in feet and legs, in similar way in hands and arms. These are the dependent parts of the body and above the ligature mark. If the body is in flowing water and constantly changing its posture, position, then postmortem lividity may not develop. Hypostasis also occur at the dependent parts of all the internal organ. Internal organ. So postmortem lividity in the heart, it can simulate with myocardial infarction, and in lungs it may be simulate with pneumonia because the discoloration of the dependent parts of the internal organ also. Like this is a heart and there is a postmortem staining of the dependent part of the heart. This is not because of myocardial infarction. Medical legal significance of hypostasis. It is a sure sign of death. The time since death can be roughly estimated from the formation, extension and fixation of the postmortem staining. The distribution of postmortem lividity gives an idea about position of the body at the time of death, and its color gives an idea about the cause of death, because the different poisons or different situation changes the color of the blood and it reflects, so we can have a clue that the cause of death may be because of incineration or carbon monoxide poisoning or phosphorus poisoning with a different color of lividity. In early phase of formation, it may be confused with bruise because early stage of formation it is in form of small patches, so it may be confused with bruise when patchy and small. It may be confused with congestion, particularly in internal organs, as we discussed. What are the contrasting features between postmortem lividity and bruise? Lividity is a postmortem phenomenon, while bruise is antemortem. During life, we got some injury, blunt trauma. It may result in the discoloration of that area because of rupturing of capillaries, subcutaneous capillaries, and extravasation of blood in the surrounding tissue. So, location of lividity is always involved. The location is epidermis, while in case of bruise, it is subepidermal. Area involves depend. In case of lividity, it is present on the dependent parts of the body, while in case of bruise, any part of the body, any side can be affected where we got hurted by blunt trauma, blunt object. Margins of lividity are clearly defined, while in case of bruise, they are ill-defined and merge with surrounding areas. Color of lividity is mostly homogeneous, uniform, while in case of bruise, it is variegated. It changes with time to time and finally become faded and disappear. Swelling is absent in case of lividity, while it's present in case of bruise. If inside the area, discolored area, in case of, or the postmortem lividity, the blood element they confine to the blood vessels and blood can be washed out. While in case of bruise, infiltration of blood is surrounding of tissues. The blood pigment they infiltrate into surrounding tissues, and the blood cannot be washed out because it stains the tissues. On microscopic examination, blood elements within the blood vessels they are found in case of lividity, while in bruise, evidence of inflammation and blood elements outside the blood vessels are found. This is a picture of bruise. Antemortem, you can see the different shades of bruise, purplish, reddish, and then yellowish. When with the time, the bruise changes its color, and later on it becomes yellowish pale and then fade out. It is antemortem phenomena. This is a bruise, and lividity you have seen 2 or 3 pictures before. Now the contrasting feature between lividity and congestion. Distribution lividity irregular is on dependent parts, while in case of congestion involves the whole organ. Appearance of lividity normal, and congestion in case of pathological, its pathological changes is evident. Mucous membrane is dull and lusterless in case of lividity while it's normal in congestion. Exudate, there is no inflammatory exudate present in case of lividity while exudate is present in congestion. In case of hollow viscera like stomach, intestine, when they are stretched, they show alternate stain and unstained area in case of lividity called varices. While in case of congestion, stomach and intestine they show uniform distribution of discoloration. Now we will discuss the changes in the body fluids after death. What are the postmortem changes in blood chemistry? The concentration of all the blood components increases after death because of the continued function of cell in the period between the clinical and cellular death. Postmortem action of enzymes and bacteria and the alteration of cell permeability of the dying cells. Changes. pH of blood drops due to terminal accumulation of carbon dioxide, glycolisis with phosphoric and lactic acid accumulation, and splitting of amino acid, splitting of the amino acid and the fatty acid. Then after 24 hours of the death, reaction starts to become alkaline due to the production of ammonia from enzymatic protein breakdown. There is a gradual increase of non-protein nitrogen to about 50 mg per deciliter during the first 24 hours, while its normal value is 20 to 30 mg per deciliter. So within 24 hours, it rises up to 50 mg per deciliter. Then free amino acid nitrogen increases to over 70 mg per deciliter, while its normal value is 12 mg per deciliter. Creatinine rises up to 10 mg per deciliter, its normal value is 2 to 4 mg per deciliter. Chloride in plasma and in erythrocyte, they become equalized soon after death, and the concentration drops in about 24 hours. These are the parameters which we use, which are very important in estimation of time since death. Magnesium shifts from erythrocytes to serum, and its level rises and reaches 8 times in 72 hours after death. Potassium level also rises, but it's not reliable. Enzymes, accumulation of enzymes in serum as a result of tissue breakdown. There is a rapid rise in various enzymes level like amylase and phosphatase. They rises in 36 to 48 hours after death. Transaminase, it rises in 48 to 60 hours after death, while lactic dehydrogenase, it rises on 4th day after death. The blood sugar and blood urea also rises, but they are not reliable parameters. What are the changes in CSF after death? Postmortem changes in CSF. First, we obtain the sample by lumbar puncture and from the cisterna magna by inserting a needle in the neck, and the volume of CSF we required is 150 milliliter. CSF will gradually disappear after death within 24 to 48 hours. The concentration of non-protein nitrogen under 80 mg per deciliter indicate that death not more than 24 hours previously. Okay? Creatinine concentration under 5 mg per deciliter indicate the death is 10 hours before, and if the value of creatinine is under 10 mg per deciliter indicates that the 30 hours before death has been declared or done. Changes in ocular fluid. Aqueous fluid is present in anterior and posterior chamber of eye, while the vitreous humor is present in the body of the eyeball. The sample is taken is about 2 milliliter fluid is withdrawn from each eyeball with 20 gauge detail by gentle suction. And after suction of this fluid, we inject the same amount of tap water in there just to restore the feature of the eye, because if we do not inject the tap water, so what happens, it will sunken eye, so like a sunken eye. So to restore the feature of the body for cosmetic purpose, we inject the same amount of the tap water in the eyeballs. there is a steady rise of potassium concentration of vitreous fluid. There is a linear arithmetic relationship between the potassium concentration and the post-mortem interval for over 100 hours after death. So this is very significant in estimation of time since death. What are the changes in bone marrow? The sample of bone marrow we are taking from sternum, and the nuclei of the neutrophil begins to swell in first hour, and then they become rounded and form its the compounded form is seen in 4 hours, and cell outline is obscured, and cytoplasm shows vacuoles in about 10 hours. This is all about the changes in bone marrows. So this is all about my today's lecture.